In the last video, we created the auth class and we'll be using this as a wrapper for our Firebase authentication code. Now, one of the reasons why we wanted to introduce this class is that we no longer want to import Firebase auth in the other files. In other words, the entire codebase in our app should always talk to this new auth class, and the fact that we are using Firebase authentication should only be an implementation detail of this class. For this reason, there is one additional change that we need to make to this class, and that is that the return value of these methods should not use Firebase user, because Firebase user is a type that is defined inside Firebase auth. Instead, I'm going to propose that we create a generic user class, and we will find a way to create objects of type user from objects of type Firebase user. Okay, so let's do this, and at the top of the file, I'm going to create a class user. And this is going to have only one property, which is going to be a final string UID to represent the user ID. And then we're going to add a constructor, and this will take a required this.uid property like this. And in order to use required, we need to import foundation.dart. Next, inside the auth class, we are going to define a new private method that will be used to create an object of type user from an object of type Firebase user. So here I'm going to type user and then underscore user from Firebase, and this will take a Firebase user argument like this. And inside here I can just return a new user object with UID of user.uid like this. Now this will work, but if we pass in a null value for the Firebase user argument, then this code will throw an exception. So to make sure that this method works, even if we pass a null value, we're going to add an extra check that says if user equals null, then return null like this. So once again, all this method does is to convert a Firebase user object to a user object which only contains the UID. And the next step is to update these methods so that they return a future of user rather than a future of Firebase user. So here I can just type in user, and also here I can type in user like this. And then in the method body, rather than returning the result of our call to Firebase, I can type final user equals this, and then return user from Firebase with user like this. And I can also do the same here by returning a user from Firebase and passing authResult.user as an argument. Okay, so with all these changes, the public interface of this auth class is now completely decoupled from Firebase. And once again, our goal is for the rest of the application to only know about the auth class and user objects, and never reference Firebase auth directly. And by the way, one advantage of this approach is that if there are any breaking changes in future versions of Firebase auth, all we have to do is to update our auth class. So this approach makes our code base more maintainable. Okay, so let's continue on the next video.